My parents told me I was a failure at a family barbecue. Not privately, not in some hushed conversation where they tried to soften the blow. No, they said it right there in our kitchen while my little sister was outside showing off her brand new 4-bedroom house in Austin that they'd just bought her. Well, helped buy, with $150,000. I'd asked if they could help me too, just asked. I wasn't even demanding anything. I'd been saving for years, scraping by in Seattle, sending the money when Dad's business went under, calling every week to check on Mom after her surgery. I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd earned something. Dad looked at me like I'd asked him to set money on fire. "You're a failure, Elena," he said, just like that. "Always have been." Mom didn't even look up, just kept wiping the counter like if she scrubbed hard enough, I'd disappear. I left that night, cried the whole drive back to my hotel, but somewhere between the tears and the rage, something shifted inside me. I wasn't sad anymore. I was done being the family disappointment. What they didn't know, what nobody knew yet, was that I'd found something. An old email buried in my inbox, estate documents, inheritance papers with my grandfather's name on them. And the numbers didn't add up. By the time I was finished, they'd wish they'd never called me a failure. They'd wish they'd just given me the money. Let me back up. Growing up in San Diego, I was always the shadow. That's the best way to describe it. My sister Brianna, 5 years younger, born when I was old enough to remember the shift, she was the sun. Everything revolved around her from the moment she could smile. And God, could that girl smile. Straight as, cheer captain, perfect boyfriend, perfect hair, perfect everything. Me, I had dyslexia that made school feel like running through mud. I worked at coffee shops and retail stores just to pay for community college, while Brianna got a partial scholarship to UCLA that my parents talked about like she'd won the Nobel Prize. "Brianna's going places," Dad would say every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every phone call. I'd be sitting right there. Mom sold houses, Dad ran a construction business. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. They had money, they just chose how to spend it, and that choice was never me. I tried not to let it bother me. I really did. I moved to Seattle for a fresh start, got a job as a graphic designer at a tech startup. It wasn't glamorous. I lived off ramen and worked 60-hour weeks, but I was proud of what I built. I designed apps that millions of people used. My name wasn't on anything, but I knew. I sent money home when Dad's business crashed after the recession. Skipped vacations I'd saved for, called every single week. And they still looked at me like I was the one who couldn't get it together. Family dinners were the worst. I'd fly down from Seattle, exhausted and broke from the ticket, and sit there while Mom gushed over Brianna's internship or her new boyfriend or whatever achievement of the week she'd racked up. I'd get a pat on the shoulder. "That's nice, honey. Keep trying." Keep trying. Like I wasn't already giving everything I had. I swallowed it, told myself it didn't matter, told myself I was being sensitive, that parents don't have favorites, that I was imagining things. But I wasn't. And last summer, at that barbecue, they proved it. Brianna pulled up in her new SUV, a gift from her fiancé, Tyler, some investment banker with too much hair gel and a Rolex he wouldn't stop adjusting. The grill was going, lights were strung up in the backyard, and everything smelled like carne asada and cilantro. Mom clinked her glass. That's when everything fell apart. "We have an announcement." Mom's voice was practically singing. Everyone turned. Brianna was glowing, holding Tyler's hand like she'd just won the lottery. "Victor and I are so excited," Mom continued, squeezing Dad's arm. "We've decided to help Brianna and Tyler with their dream home. We're giving them $150,000 for their down payment." The table exploded. Cheers, hugs, Aunt Maria was crying. I sat there with my fork halfway to my mouth, frozen. $150,000. That was more money than I'd ever seen in my life. More than my entire savings account. More than I'd make in 3 years at my current salary. "It's in Austin," Brianna gushed. 4 bedrooms, a pool, this gorgeous kitchen. Room for grandkids, Mom added, and everyone laughed. I forced my face into a smile, nodded when people looked at me, clapped when everyone else clapped. But inside, I was doing math. Dad had just refinanced the house. Mom had sold 2 properties in the last 6 months. They had money, real money, money they'd never mentioned when I was drowning in student loans, money they didn't have when I asked for help with my car breaking down last year. I waited until later, after dessert, after everyone had moved to the living room. I found them in the kitchen, scraping plates. "That's amazing," I said, kept my voice light. "What you're doing for Brianna." "She's worked so hard," Mom said immediately. "Yeah, she has," I paused. "I've been saving too, actually, for a place in Portland, maybe Seattle. Rent's insane up there," and I thought. "Elena," Dad's voice cut through the air like a blade. I stopped. He put down the plate he was holding, turned to face me fully. "You're a failure," he said. Just like that, no build-up, no softening. "You've always been a failure. Brianna makes smart choices. She works hard, she has a plan." He crossed his arms. "You bounce around jobs, chase these artsy dreams. We're not throwing good money after bad." Mom didn't say anything, just scrubbed the counter harder, her back to me. "Lost causes," that's what he'd said. I was a lost cause. Something cracked inside my chest. Not broke, cracked, like ice splitting before it shatters. I didn't cry, not in front of them. I just left. I made it to my hotel before the tears came. I'd booked a cheap place near the airport, one of those motels where the AC rattles and the walls are thin. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my reflection in the dark TV screen, and just broke. Not the crying kind of breaking, the angry kind. The kind that burns. Failure, he'd called me a failure. Me, the one who sent them $5,000 last year when the roof leaked. The one who called every week. The one who sacrificed and struggled and clawed my way to something, anything, while Brianna floated through life on their money and their praise. I blocked their numbers that night. All of them. Mom, Dad, even Brianna, whose texts were already rolling in. "Isn't the house amazing?" Mom showed me the pictures again. I'm literally dying. I didn't want to hear it. For 3 months, I shut them out completely. Ignored calls from extended family asking what happened. Deleted emails. Let their messages sit unread. And I worked. God, did I work. My startup in Seattle was blowing up. We just signed a contract with a massive e-commerce company, and I'd pitched a side project that got approved. An app for affordable housing resources. Pulled from my own experience, all those nights searching desperately for cheaper rent, better neighborhoods, something I could actually afford. It took off. Internal buzz turned into external interest. By October, I got promoted to lead designer with a salary bump that made my old paycheck look like pocket change. But that wasn't enough. I started freelancing on weekends, building a portfolio. Every spare dollar went into stocks, tech companies riding the AI wave, things I actually understood from working in the industry. My investment account jumped from $10,000 to $50,000 in 6 months. I was doing it, finally doing it. But the anger didn't fade. It lived in my chest like a second heartbeat. One night, rain hammering against my apartment window, the way it always does in Seattle, I was going through old photos on my laptop, procrastinating on a project, just scrolling through memories I didn't want to feel. That's when I saw it. An email from 4 years ago. Mom had forwarded something by accident, estate documents, legal papers with my grandfather's name at the top. Grandpa Ruiz, Mom's dad. He died when I was 7, and I barely remembered him, just the smell of his cigars and the way he'd sneak me candy. I'd never thought about an inheritance, never crossed my mind. But there it was, a trust fund, split equally between me and Brianna. Equally. I stared at that word until it blurred. My hands were shaking when I opened the attachments. Dense legal language, numbers that didn't make sense, references to disbursements and allocations, and... Wait. The amounts were wrong. Redirected funds. Signatures that looked off, shaky in a way that didn't match Mom's usual handwriting. Notes in the margins about family expenses and educational investments. I cross-referenced everything I could find. Public records. Old tax documents I'd kept from when I'd helped Dad file during the recession. The math didn't add up. My half had been touched, moved, used. On what? I sat there until 3 a.m., following paper trails, my coffee going cold beside me. And then I did something crazy. I hired a private investigator. Not some TV drama type, just a guy in LA who specialized in financial records. Cost me $2,000 I didn't want to spend, but I had to know. His report came back 5 weeks later. $200,000. That's how much had been taken from my portion of the trust. Most of it funneled into Brianna's college fund, her car, her study abroad trip to Barcelona I'd heard about for years. And that down payment, that beautiful, perfect down payment on her dream house. That was my money too. But here's the part that made my blood run cold. The investigator found emails between Mom and her lawyer, discussing how to protect the funds from my unstable lifestyle choices. They knew. They knew what they were doing. And they did it anyway. I didn't confront them, not yet. That's what they'd expect. The unstable daughter flying off the handle, making a scene, proving them right. No, I was smarter than that now. Christmas came around and I unblocked their numbers. Sent a cheerful text. Hey, I know things got weird. Can we start over? I miss you guys. Mom called within an hour, crying. Oh, honey, we've been so worried. Your father feels terrible about what he said. Liar. But I played along. It's okay, I overreacted. I'd love to come home for the holidays. I flew down with gifts, smiled at the airport, hugged them at baggage claim like nothing had happened. The dinner was exactly what I expected. Brianna video called from Austin, giving a virtual tour of her marble countertops and walk-in closets. This kitchen is literally a dream, she squealed. Everyone oohed and awed. I waited until dessert, until the attention shifted away from the phone screen. I got promoted, I mentioned casually, cutting into Mom's flan. Lead designer now, pretty big raise. Dad looked up. That's good, Mija. Yeah, and I've been investing on the side. Tech stocks mostly. Portfolio's up about 400% since summer. Mom's fork paused. 400. I shrugged. I mean, I got lucky. Right time, right companies, did my research. The table got quiet. I could feel Dad's eyes on me, calculating, skeptical. Lucky break, he muttered finally. I smiled, took another bite. Then, as we cleared the table, I dropped it. Oh, by the way, I kept my tone light, almost bored. I had a lawyer look into Grandpa Ruiz's trust. You know, the inheritance. Just wanted to understand the paperwork better for my own financial planning. Mom's face went white. Dad choked on his coffee, actually choked, had to pound his chest. What are you talking about? He said, voice rough. I just smiled, set my plate in the sink. Interesting stuff, we should talk about it sometime. Elena. Anyway, I've got an early flight tomorrow. Better get to the hotel. I grabbed my coat, headed for the door. Behind me, Mom was saying something, her voice high and panicked. Dad was calling my name. I didn't turn around. My phone started ringing before I even reached my rental car. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. Back in Seattle, I contacted a law firm in Sacramento. Quiet, professional, specialized in estate disputes. They took one look at my evidence and smiled. This is solid, my lawyer said. A woman named Rita Chen, sharp as a knife in her pressed suit. They diverted funds that were legally yours, forged signatures. This is fraud. I filed suit in February. Didn't tell anyone, didn't post about it, just let the paperwork do the talking. The first call came from Brianna. Elena, what the fuck are you doing? Her voice was shrill, breaking. Mom's crying. Dad won't leave his room. There are lawyers calling the house. I'm getting what's mine, I said calmly. This will destroy us. The house, Tyler and I just bought the house. With my money. It wasn't. You don't understand, Mom said. That I was unstable, that I'd waste it. Yeah, I saw those emails, Bri. Silence, long and hollow. You knew, I said, didn't you? Her breath hitched. Elena. The investigator found your emails too. Make sure Elena doesn't find out. That's what you wrote to Mom, your own sister. I didn't mean, it wasn't like that. I hung up. Discovery was brutal for them. Every email, every forged signature, every redirected payment laid out in black and white. My lawyer kept finding more. Brianna's sorority dues, her spring break trips, that study abroad program to Barcelona she'd posted about endlessly, $15,000 of my inheritance right there. Meanwhile, my side project app, the affordable housing one. A tech company bought it, $300,000. I used part of it as a down payment on a house in Portland. A cozy bungalow with a view of Mount Hood, exposed brick, hardwood floors, a backyard where I could finally breathe. I posted about it on Instagram, didn't tag them directly, didn't need to. The comments poured in, you deserve this, what an inspiration, from struggle to success. I started a blog, Rising from Family Shadows, wrote about favoritism, about being overlooked, about clawing your way up when nobody believes in you. I never used their names, didn't have to. It went viral, 100,000 reads in the first week. Court date arrived in June. San Diego courthouse, 4th floor. Mom looked 10 years older. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Brianna flew in from Austin, her mascara already running. The judge took 20 minutes. Ruled in favor of the plaintiff. $250,000 restitution plus interest. I walked out of that courtroom with a check and a hollow victory. But revenge, real revenge, isn't just about winning. It's about what happens after. 2 weeks later, I donated half of the settlement, $125,000, to dyslexia charities, learning centers, scholarship funds for kids who struggled like I did, kids whose parents might not believe in them. The failure, writing checks that would change lives. I posted about it, not to brag, just to say, this is what you called worthless. The comments exploded. News outlets picked it up. Woman donates settlement to dyslexia charities after family betrayal. It went everywhere. That's when the real twist hit. My phone rang 3 days after the article dropped. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Elena, a man's voice, older, shaky. Who is this? It's your Uncle Marco, your mom's brother. I hadn't spoken to Marco in years. He'd moved to Colorado, kept to himself after some falling out with Mom. I saw the news, he said, about the lawsuit, the trust fund. Okay. He took a breath. Elena, there's something you need to know. Your grandfather, my father, he didn't want that money split equally. My stomach dropped. What? He left specific instructions. You were supposed to get more, significantly more. You were his favorite. He saw himself in you. The struggle, the creativity. He left you 60%. Brianna was supposed to get 40%. The room spun. Mom changed it, Marco continued. After he died, she had the will rewritten, made it look like he wanted it equal. I only found out years later when I was settling my own estate stuff. I tried to tell her it was wrong, but she cut me off, said I was trying to start trouble. 60%. That wasn't $200,000 they'd stolen. It was closer to $350,000. Why are you telling me this now? My voice was barely a whisper. Because you deserve to know the truth, all of it, and because, he paused, your grandfather would be proud of you, Mija, so damn proud. I hung up and just sat there. All those years, all that pain. And it was worse than I'd even known. Grandpa had believed in me, had seen something in me worth investing in. And they'd erased it. Rewritten it. Like I never mattered at all. I'm in Portland now. My business is thriving. The blog turned into a podcast. I've got book agents reaching out, and last month someone asked about a TED Talk. Brianna's marriage fell apart. Tyler bilayed when the money got tight. Turns out the marble countertops weren't enough to hold a relationship together. She moved back in with Mom and Dad. Speaking of them, they sold the San Diego house to pay me back. Downsized to a one-bedroom condo in Phoenix. Dad's business never recovered. Mom stopped selling real estate. They tried to apologize. Letters, emails. Dad even showed up at my door once, but I didn't let him in. Some things you don't come back from. I think about Grandpa Ruiz sometimes. Wonder what he'd say if he could see me now. Maybe he'd smile. Maybe he'd tell me he knew all along. The girl they called a failure just signed a 6-figure book deal. And them. They're learning what it feels like to be forgotten. If your family ever made you feel like you weren't enough, like you didn't deserve what was yours, drop a comment. Tell me your story. You're not alone. Subscribe if this hit home. Share it if you've ever been the shadow. Because shadows, we rise too.